Hey, how
Hey,
you doing? You doing, Chris?
good. How are you?
Good, good.
Thanks for going to do this.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So I can kind of try and focus more on things you hadn't talked about as much.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and, if I can remember, these references, if they're kind of obscure, I'll be happy to talk on them for sure.
So did you get into SAG by doing Rich Girl?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I did. I got Taft Hartley on Rich Girl. That's a good one. Good research.
What was your like experience working with Jill and Don and people in the cast?
That was, Don Michael Paul was a really, really sweet person, really nice. It was on the first day of shooting, he brought like little gifts for everybody. We were all in the same band in the movie. And so he brought like some bandanas and kind of rock and roll stuff for the people that were in the band. And he brought like little gifts for really thoughtful guy, really nice. He hadn't done much music in his life and in his career yet, so he was really open to like being shown how to look like he plays the guitar and all that stuff, and he did a great job with it. From what he was given and the short amount of time he was given to get it down, he did a really good job.
Mhm.
Real nice guy. Joel was good. The director was good. I met one of my dearest friends that I still have to this day, a guy named Bentley Mitchum, who is still a real close friend, super close. We still talk to each other almost every day, and we're we've written a lot of music together over the years, and just he's also a really good actor too. But yeah, he's Robert Mitchum's grandson. Robert Mitchum was, I don't know if you know who he is, but a real big star in like the 50s and
Yeah.
60s. Yeah. So yes, good experience all around for that Rich Girl movie.
And did you get like initial aspiration to try and pursue on camera then?
Well, I had done some on camera before, just very little. I was on a General Hospital, which is a soap opera. I'd done like a couple little stints on that. And I did this really bad B movie called Auntie Lee's Meat Pies.
Yeah.
It was kind of a cross between a bad like movie with a bunch of Playboy playmates in it, combined with Sweeney Todd, the play where they were making the meat pies out of the people that came through. And the whole town loved them, of course. But yeah, so that was a really, really bad movie. That was like one of my first movies that I got to do. But yeah, I enjoyed it so much. I'm always open for it. I just did this movie called Famish a few
Yeah.
years ago. Jeff Nimoy wrote and directed, and that was a lot of fun. I got to play a character named Lex Lang, but that was a fictitious version of myself, so that was pretty fun too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember, but when Jeff posted my interview with him on Twitter, he tagged you in it, and you made a comment about like me looking like Adam Driver.
Oh yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. We all have our sort of not a doppelganger, but we all have somebody who people go, "Oh, you remind me of this person, and you look like this person." I used to get Richard Grieco a lot. I
Oh
would
yeah.
always hear that when I was young. My hair was longer than it is now, of course, but they'd always be like, "You look kind of like Richard Grieco."
Mhm.
So funny because I was in a Ralph's Market not too long ago, and he was the guy right in front of me. So we were both standing
Oh
there. I didn't mention it to him, like it would have seemed kind of weird, I think, but I was like, oh, there's the actual dude.
yeah.
Cool.
So was your first anime role Sanosuke, or was it or credits prior to that?
No, my first anime role, I want to say it was well, there's two different places I did anime. I did have anime at Saban a
Hmm.
little bit, and I did anime, three of them at Bang Zoom. I was in their first production called Ninja Cadets,
Yeah.
which is kind of one of my early anime roles. But I was in Digimon as War Greymon, and that's an anime. So I wasn't sure if that one came before it or after. They all go back so far that it's kind of hard to remember the actual first thing. Big Bad Beetleborgs, but I think that was like a live action thing. I know I did that really early in my voice acting career.
Right. Well, I would think that playing Olivier and Gestalt, that'd be
That
fun.
was really good.
Yeah.
That was a really fun role actually to play Olivier. And Magic Knight Ray Earth too was one of the early ones that I did.
Hmm.
I played a lot of the what they call the rune gods, like Ray Earth and Wyndham and others. And I also got to play Zagato, who was like the main villain, and his brother, who was like the anti-villain sort of you know good guy of the series for the second season.
Or was it accurate too that you wrote the some of the English theme lyrics for Ray Earth too?
Yeah, yeah, we did that. My wife Sandy, whom I don't know, you probably will interview her someday, but she also helped me. We got the theme songs for a few different shows that we were asked to write, and on one of them, I think it was Ray Earth. Hold on to that dream or something like that. I think that was from Ray Earth. Um, that one had the Japanese background vocals married to the music.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to write lyrics that sounded like the vowels that were happening in the Japanese background singer so that it would all sound like it matched. And it worked out great. We ended up spending a little time on it, and it was very cool. And then Sandy sang the opening song for Rurouni Kenshin for the first two seasons. And I sang the closing song, Tactics, on that show too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask how that came about with Kenshin specifically. Did you just ask to sing the...
No, they asked us. I've always done music before acting. I did music, kind of. Well, I did acting first, but then I went to music, and then I came back to acting. And so they knew that. Eric Sherman, who's the owner over there at Bang Zoom, he knew that I did a lot of music, and so he said, "What do you think about doing the English adaptation for these two songs?" And it turned out it worked out perfectly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We gave it a run. Our voices fit just right for both songs, and then that's it. We did a quick audition. We always have to audition for everything pretty much, so we did like a quick get approved audition, and then once we were approved, we just went and did it. And they created the karaoke style tracks for us to sing over, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that stuff.
Yeah, back when I talked to Dorothy and Richard Cancino, they both said that Kenshin was like one of the only experiences where you guys got together for like cast parties and stuff afterward.
Yeah, most of the time we just work by ourselves, and every once in a while there's a cast party. I try to do it whenever I direct a show. I try to do like a kind of a rap party with everybody. But yeah, back then they didn't really happen that often, and Kenshin was one where like we all really stuck together and got to see each other outside of the booth too, which was nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you think that in terms of anime characters, do you think that you relate the most to Sanosuke?
Well, only in the sense of like I'm a big proponent for like standing up for the underdog. Like I really love that part about him. I also love food, and he's actually a very big foodie. Sanosuke is, even though it doesn't come off that way. But yeah, so I relate to him in that way. But I've done so many characters over the last. This will be my 26th year doing it, so I relate to different ones depending on what the show is differently. Like there's always a part of me that relates to it in some degree, But Sanosuke had so many episodes, and his character grew from being this like fighter for hire to having a lot of heart and caring for all the other characters around him. That was a nice story, a character arc for me to see him develop that way.
Mm-hmm. And do you think there's a highlight memory of like the most emotionally involved you had to get for playing him throughout his whole arc?
I don't have like a very specific memory from any particular episode, if that's the question. I remember having a lot of laughs. I played this character named Iwambo.
Yeah.
And, he was kind of like a cowardly lion almost sounding dude. And we had a lot of fun doing that character. Kaiko Sakamoto was the director for that at that time. And she just had the greatest time recording those scenes with me.
Mm-hmm. What do you think generally in terms of anime is the darkest headspace you've had to go for a character?
Wow. There have been a few pretty dark spaces that I've gone to with characters. Count Cruteo was for I'll Noah Zero, which is a more recent one. And he gets pretty dark. I mean, this guy is like, doesn't hesitate to torture somebody, and you got to be pretty dark to be okay with like, okay, I think I'll torture you now or beat you with a cane or something like that. string you up and beat you. That's pretty that's pretty dark. I'm working on one right now called Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
And I play Geto or Saguru Geto. And he has some darkness in him as well. You know, he's a sorcerer, but he really has a hatred for all things human, all things non-magic. And it's a very dark space, even though it's not like a malicious or mean space. He's not trying to attack or kill anybody necessarily, but it's almost like a prejudiced space. It's almost like a space that, you know, where he treats them like subhuman,
right,
just because they're human, you know, which is not cool. But yeah, we just did the movie. We just recorded the movie. It's called Jujutsu Kaisen Episode 0, I think. Yeah, it's going to be really good. The artwork and the rest of the actors that I had a chance to hear did just a great job. So I'm pretty psyched about that. It's actually a very, very popular movie in Japan right now. Yeah. So that's cool. I'm excited to see what the English adaptation version holds for the fans. Yeah.
And I would think too that because probably my single favorite role of yours for me personally is Cain in Nightwalker.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. I enjoy doing that one too. Yes. My wife Sandy and I have gotten a chance to work on a lot of anime together separately, of course, but it's like, you know, she played what's the name of the character she played in that one?
Goonie.
Yeah, Goonie. Yeah, and she's played a bunch of stuff, and like we did Fist of the North Star together, and she was Lynn, and I was Kenshiro, and like the entire time she's like, her character's going Ken, you know, like constantly, and I'm like Lynn. So we had a laugh at home about that.
Was there like what was the process of how you had developed Kane's voice? That's kind of unlike anything you had done at the time.
Yeah, you know, working with the director, a guy named Joe Ramersa, he still does a lot of stuff out there, and Kevin Seymour, who's passed away since. But you know, that's how we start, and then sometimes we'll listen to the Japanese as sort of a reference point, like where it's at. But I think as far as developing that zone of the voice, it was all about just like ultra cool, ultra confident, and like a zen state where like ultra powerful at the same time. So those combined created that you're already dead kind of like vibe that he had, you know? So yeah, I think that was the process for us with that. And then when we did the karate, not the karate, but the, you know, the strikes, you know, we listened to the Japanese because that's basically the wata and all that stuff that they do. And it had a little bit of the kind of a Bruce Lee feel to it, but it was definitely that, you know, like that, a lot of those kind of screams, you know, and it always left me with my entire throat torn up after I'd do a session of Fist of the North Star because there was a lot of screaming in that.
I know one of the more funny roles that people don't really bring up of yours too is a Slash in Mahoromatic.
Yeah, the Black Cat Slash.
Yep.
He was also kind of laid back. And then there was what's his name? Kimishima, guy who was obsessed with trains. That was always one that God, what's the name of that show? Can you think of it offhand? Kimishima?
I'd have to look it up, yeah.
I would too. Sorry, I did. Sometimes I bring it up and it's like it comes to my mind right away. But that was another one that was like, what an interesting character. You know, Slash, of course, a magic cat's always fun to do, but it's interesting when a character has like a quirk where like they're obsessed with trains or something, you know.
I know there was this was kind of, I guess, going back to darker, but there was a lot of emotional confliction with your role as Virgil in the Xenosaga games.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those were good games too. And it's interesting because I've, you know, we say darker stuff, but I've also done a lot of like animals and creatures and demons in a lot of different things. And so there's a certain degree of darkness you have to kind of get to be like a possessed demon. You know, it's not just about making a voice, a sound like a or whatever. It's, you got to kind of get dark with it for a little bit. which is it always adds a little flavor to whatever you're doing.
Mhm. Do you think you have a personal preference for acting in darker projects opposed to comedic, or?
I really enjoy comedic roles because A, I get to laugh in the booth, and so does everybody else when we're doing them because they're funny. And and B, they're lighter, you know, in general, they're more fun, like actual fun to do. But on the other side of the coin, a villainous character is what I'm not personally. Like I don't wake up and think about, you know, dominating the world necessarily, you know, just my own world. But like I don't think about like, oh, world domination today. That sounds good. But when you have those kind of motivations in a character you get to play a lot of who you're not, you know. So if like I can take all the frustrations I have in regular life and put it into like internal ruthlessness to bring to a character. And that's a lot of fun. Like, you know, when you get to destroy and be evil, get that out of your system. That's like a lot. It's a good release, and it's a lot of fun to do too.
Mhm. And this was kind of related to that. I know one of your other really early crazy roles was in Apocalypse Zero.
Yeah, I don't recall the. If I could hear the character's name, I'd probably be able to remember more of it. But you know, I've done over 500 different series
Right.
total, 500 different not episodes, but 500 different projects in 25 years. So sometimes to just go, oh yeah, Virgil and Zinno Saga or whatever, you know, like I can remember the session, but to be able to like go, oh, I loved it when he said,
Yeah.
you know, if it's 18 years ago, it's like me asking you, hey, in 2006, it was a Thursday, May 8th. What was your breakfast about that day? You know, it's like you go, oh shit, I don't even know what I had for breakfast yesterday, much less 18 years ago. So that's one of the hazards of being a voice actor is that we go through roles so often if we're working, you know, luckily. And so we can't always remember everything that we'd like to. My memory is pretty shot.
Well, I know you've been playing, obviously you've been playing Juge Lyong for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. That one has been forever, it seems, like since Dynasty Warriors 2, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe even 1. It's been a long time. They got recast a couple of years ago. I think they a new production company took over and they recast it, sort of to the you know, dissatisfaction of the fans. But it was good. It was a fun character. You know, that character was another one. I played Goemon Ishikawa, which is on Lupin. And that character, we call it just like stuck in the Zen, where like it doesn't matter if a house is on fire, he's just going to say calmly, we should probably leave, you know, like just very calm no matter what. Whereas the same with Juge Lyong, he was almost a whispered, sort of reverent character. He'd be talking about big wars, you know, we must take their front down with all of our might. But it's always just like relaxed, and it almost sounded like a prayer, is what one of the directors always wanted it to be. It sounds like you're interrupting him in a meditation, and he's just going to give you an instruction and let it be, you know, that kind of thing. So that's the experience I had with Juge Lyong.
Is there much of a affinity or like specific memory with Crim and the Dot Hack series too?
That was over at PCB Productions, which is Keith and Valerie Aram, who are really great people. I remember that being kind of a cooler character, kind of a laid back, cooler character, not laid back like Juge Lyong, but just more like, you know, taking everything in stride kind of character. And so I do remember that part of him, but I, you know, in terms of what the storylines were about and, you know, memory on those, I don't have a lot of recollection to those.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fair. You know, I'll probably have that answer for a lot of this stuff from the Wayback Machine. You know, it's like, I don't really remember this exactly, but I did remember, you know, who it was and how the character's basic profile is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I know, of course, you got to be in the first Fates Day Night series, a different character, and then in the recent movies, another different, bigger character.
Kuzuki, is that was that from the newer stuff? He's the
Yeah.
school teacher that's also kind of evil. Yeah. What was the characters in the first iteration? Do you know what those were?
Issei.
Issei? Okay, yeah. Yeah, so it's always interesting when you come back to a project after like 10 years of it being gone. It's like, who am I playing again here, you know? but but I enjoyed being Kuzuki. He was kind of an, you know, again an evil character, but also kind of he had sort of a bitterness, like a stoic bitterness about him that, you know, almost an entitlement that was sort of processed into like being bitter about everything in life, including his own scenario, you know. So that was fun to play. I remember playing that. Tony Oliver was the director for that recently.
And this was it is related to Dynasty Warriors, but I know that you got to be a Magoichi in the first Samurai Warriors game.
Ling Tong, I think, was one of the names.
Yep.
Ling Tong, and one other one. So for a couple of those Dynasty Warriors, I'd come in and I'd do 3 or 4 characters for the entire game. And then it was funny because I watched some cut scenes of those, and my characters are all talking to each other.
Yeah.
So that was fun to see. Sounded different enough to go, okay, that's cool. I'll buy that.
Because I know that doesn't really happen very often in terms of like anime or anime games, in terms of like performing with yourself at least.
Yeah, not too often. If you do a lot of characters, it can happen. Like in this Jujutsu Kaisen movie, I played some of these curses, they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was, Suguru Geto was facing some of these curses and they were talking back and forth to each other. But obviously, as one of the curses, I've got some voice that's down in here, whereas Suguru is much more closer to my normal speaking voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, you do see it sometimes. You do see yourself talking to yourself.
And I think this would have been like a little bit later, but still one that people don't really talk about. Scryed.
Scryed. Maybe that was Kimishima. Let me think. Scryed.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one that I was saying. The guy has like an obsession with trains,
Mm-hmm.
and there was actually there was a heartfelt scene kind of near the end. I remember there being a lot of fans that said like they cried when I want to say he died. Hopefully, it's not a big spoiler to anyone watching, but my recollection is there was a very heartfelt kind of a tearjerker scene near the end of that character's arc. Yeah. So again, so long ago, it's hard, you know, and an obscure one at that. So it's hard to remember them.
I actually do have because my main hobby is collecting animation cells. So I have it's from Nightwalker. It was used for the final like
oh wow,
the VHS cover. It's
yeah,
Shido and Kane like in flowers, and
yeah, wow, that's very cool. That's awesome, man.
this is a Sanosuke from
Wow. Which that's an actual cell from the
yeah.
animation. Wow, that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I figured, do you get a broad cells assigned very often, or?
I get cells sometimes. Most of the time, it's when I'm at a convention. The person can actually bring their cell book with them because you might have a cell that's worth a lot, and all of a sudden it's lost in the mail. You know,
Right.
I always tell people if you're sending me something with value, make sure it has a tracking number.
Yeah.
And sign for delivery, and insure it for whatever you feel its value is. You know, because I've seen many a little action figure disappear and never gets to me. So it sucks because you know I had just recently someone sent me a War Greymon figure,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "Well, what's the tracking number?" And they go, "We didn't do a tracking number." And it's like, well, it's hard because someone might just see that in the mail, some mail person even, who knows? You know, people are stealing mail all the time. So I say track it, make sure it's got to have a signature. And I do the same thing when I send it back because I want to make sure that the person gets it, especially if, you know, they pay money to have me sign it.
Right.
Yeah.
And my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy. Wow. In terms of voice acting legacy, or just in general, I think my legacy, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe just not to worry so much about the destination of your life journey, but more about the journey itself and finding, finding yourself and finding happiness as part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
And also that, like, I've played a lot of good guys and bad guys. And if you approach life from a space, and I don't want to sound too cliche, because I know this can totally sound cliche for sure. But if you approach life from a place of kindness and open heart, and you dispel fear, because fear can be crippling, even if it's some stupid fear, like you're looking at social media and it's like, they're looking at their stuff and not looking at mine, like all of a sudden you have some fear of inferiority fear come up, or just insecurity and stuff. My word of wisdom would be, if you're feeling some kind of motivation to do something and the root of it is fear, forget about that. If you're feeling motivated to do something and the root of it is being of service to somebody, or helping, or being a example of love in the world, then do it. Even if other people say, oh no, you're going to give them that for free, or you're going to do this as a favor, just give. That would be my legacy, is to say, approach life with an open heart and with kindness. And if you can do that, you'll make the best of friends, and you'll always find yourself in a place where there's happiness nearby, if not right there at the same place, And don't worry about what other people say, because someone told me, other people's opinions of you are none of your business, which is really true. Just often people who gossip or do things that are, detrimental, they say bad things about people. Those things come from their own fears, and those things come from their own unhappinesses. So if I ever get a shitty comment, or someone saying something, on social media, like you're this or that, and I just say, I hope your day gets better. I hope you have a good day, because, if I can help you have a better day, let me know. But it sounds like you're having a rough day, And that's it. Be compassionate and be loving, and try to be kind. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
My worst stuff happens to me when I'm not being kind. Like any kind of interaction, like if I have an upset with my wife or another friend, it's usually because I've been more self-centered or not as kind as a person. So if I go, oh shit, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll take a little self-assessment and go, you know what? Maybe I wasn't kind right there. Maybe I need to make an amends to them. Just like, hey, sorry, I wasn't being kind, and I feel for you. Compassion is a biggie too. But sorry, that was a long ass answer. But that's pretty much what I feel. I'm at an age in my life. I've been doing this 26 years. I just turned 56, which is fucking really old, as far as I'm concerned. No, but I really feel young at heart too, because what I've learned over those years is what I said just a moment ago, kindness, compassion, empathy. If you can incorporate those into your everyday, then the rest of it falls away, the fearful stuff, the lack, limitation, all that stuff, that falls away. And one indicator, this is something else I learned very well. I call it the trifecta, which is, if you're having upset in your world, like you're upset about something, situation, place, whatever, person, there's usually one of three different categories that are part of it. You either have a judgment, you have an expectation, or you have an attachment to some outcome. And if you have one of those, the other two aren't far behind. You have a judgment on something. Why? Well, I had an expectation. Why? Because I had an attachment to how it was going to turn out. So now that didn't go the way I was hoping. So now I have an attachment, a judgment, and an expectation. And they all, interchange. So if you find yourself unhappy, ask yourself, am I having a judgment, an attachment, or an expectation in this situation? And then the answer to that, if the answer is yes, then the real answer is, okay, you know what I'm going to do then? I'm going to let those things go. I'm going to let it go. And then you let it go. And it's, you know, easier said than done often, because, you know, when we get an attachment or an expectation or judgment, they are deep rooted. You know, we want to like be right. But if you can let go of that and just go, you know what, I'm going to let go of that judgment. Hey, if they want to make the bed this way, if they want to wash the dishes this way, whatever, you know, I'm just using some random things, but if they want to be this way, it's not for me to judge, expect, or attach an outcome to. So you let go of those, and it's like, okay, now I'm at least at neutral. You know, and then you can go back to the compassion, empathy, and kindness, and then you're in the happy zone again. You're in the being of service. You're in the connected to another human zone, which is my favorite place.
Mm.
Yeah.
I did just want to say too that I discovered Nightwalker when I was at a really early age, and it definitely helped me discover my sexuality and be comfortable with myself. And your performance and Richard's performance in those definitely helped that too, I think. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes the work we do continues after we're done doing it. You know, it keeps on giving. I like that. That's great to know. Very cool, Chris.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your day, and of course, stay in touch. If you ever post this on any social anything, just tag me, you know, and I'll be able to see it.
Okay.
And if anybody's watching and they want to know more about me or my social media and that sort of thing, it's just at Lex Lang for Instagram, and then for TikTok, I think it's just Lex Lang TikTok. That's simple. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, but I don't go too often to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks.
It's great to chat with you. Have a great rest of your weekend, what's little is left, and have a great week. Stay safe and be well.